Hey guys, thank you for visiting this channel. Okay, it's been a long time really since I made a longer video about me talking. But yeah, as the title says, we're about to talk about my time in jail, why I spent so long time off, so much time off, and why I'm essentially a new man. And before I start, please do follow me on X at Valhalla Body to see more content. I will be uploading a new OnlyFans video today, so it should be uploaded within 1 or 2 hours after this video is uploaded. In celebration of me getting a blue check mark, which is not really something I might come to regret, getting a blue check mark. Is it worth the money I spent? I accidentally bought a year subscription in one go, but I guess it works out cheaper. But yeah, what have I been doing the last 2 months? I suppose let's get to the point of the title. On Thursday night, I was drinking 2.5 liters of Frosty Jacks plus other different energy drink, alcohol drinks, and I had a certain conflict with my landlord. They were wanting to enter my property, or they did enter my property without my apartment without notifying me prior, and I felt very angry at the time. I was in a very, very difficult place in my life. Those of you who follow me on Twitter probably saw I was going through some sort of insanity phase. Changing my username to all sorts of offensive names and posting all sorts of offensive things. And that was probably one of the lowest points in my life at that moment, and it was filled with rage and anger against the world. But what happened is I let it all out on these people, allegedly, or not the people themselves, but the property they live in. Allegedly, there was a window broken, and a CCTV camera smashed. Okay. And this is all done while I'm drunk and stoned. Okay, I'm angry at the world and have no job and no future and rarely speak to any family. Say hello to Willow here. This is Willow, and this is Tallulah, and that is Ty. Okay, and so after I allegedly did these actions at about 9 p.m., I then walked around the small town center that I lived in and did some more things that are considered illegal. Because I knew that what I did allegedly prior was going to lead to an arrest. There was no way that I was going to get out of there. So I just thought I'd enjoy my freedom for the next hour or half an hour. Ty? Well, that freedom was short-lived when I realized I had no money because I left my phone in my apartment and my card, and any sort of fantastical escape idea I may have had when I was drunk out of my mind and going through some sort of psychotic episode was quickly put to a halt. So I decided I should walk back to my apartment where there were sitting 6 or 7 police cars. And I handed myself in. Now, what happened then was I was driven to the a holding cell. Okay, before anybody goes to jail or whatever, they go to a holding cell, or courts. They go to a holding cell, which is solitary confinement. It's one room made out of bricks, The door is made out of steel. You've got a metal toilet, which is all watched by camera, and you have to ask for water every time you want water. And there's a small block of translucent window or pieces of glass, maybe half a meter wide and a meter high, which allows some daylight in, albeit there's not a lot or this time of year or even last week. And the building is surrounded by different buildings and stuff, so there's already shadows existing. But being drunk at the time and being thrown into the cell, and only coming from already experiencing a heavy sense of loneliness in my apartment, was very, very difficult for me. I did break down in tears. The industrial light that was fixed above me exposed me even more so. I felt so vulnerable. There was only but a blue mat, this thin, made out of not very comfortable material to lie on. And so I essentially cried myself to sleep. I don't believe I got any sleep because I got in there at about 11:30. But even thinking about it right now is it was one of the most traumatic periods of my life, because what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to go in, and then the next morning you get a court date, or you get a court time, and usually it's about 10 a.m. and that's what happens, okay? And you either get out, or you go on bail, or you go to prison. Now, what happened to me? I got a second charge, okay, for allegedly growing a plant that is considered illegal, although it is provided by private sector medicinal companies as a prescriptive medicine under the same government. But it's still illegal, apparently, for an honest man to grow on his own. So I was charged again the next day, which means I had to stay a second night, which again was very hard. Very, very hard. I was going through alcohol withdrawals. I was not allowed to take my SSRI because they didn't give me it. Only once I was allowed to speak with a nurse, although I'd requested 2 more times over the next 2 days. Where she was, I don't know. It was hard to make a phone call to my family because every time I wanted to speak with my mother or anyone, they would ask me, what is their number? And I don't know their number off by heart. So basically to them, that means, well, too bad, so sad. Luckily on Saturday, there was one man who came in and I was able to give them internet information to look up the website for the company they work for. And then through that, they contacted them. On Sunday, the courts are closed and most people don't work, which means I was forced to stay again for another night in solitary confinement. I'm not allowed to leave the room. I'm not allowed to walk around. I'm not allowed to do anything without being under constant observation in this room. The third night was one of the most difficult nights, albeit beside the first. At least on the third night, I had a small thin blanket, and I was able to wrap myself and pretend that I was sleeping and just ignore the world. It's something I never would wish on my worst enemy. But to be honest, I don't have any enemies, really. I can't think of one. But it was something I would wish no one would experience, and it's a horrifying experience. It's designed for one-night stays. It's not designed for three-night stays. I am probably one of the longest residents there. It doesn't help when the person across from you in their own cell is banging their head against the door over and over again, where the guards eventually start screaming at them to stop banging your head against the wall. That is the protocol. There's no sort of therapy. There's no sort of conversation. You are either told to do something or you're punished. To see the sunrise as I was driving in the back of the caged vehicle was incredibly inspiring and motivating. Even though I'd been away for 3 days, that was the first time I'd seen the sun or the sunrise in a long time. And I suddenly felt a level of hope. I was brought into the courts where most people who don't do criminal things or of this level, allegedly, would just walk in and face the judge and walk out, whether it be a penalty fine or something. But because I did allegedly what I did, I was held in another solitary confinement room where the anxiety began overcoming me again. I felt as though every time I had a level of hope, I would be again locked up in a room on my own. And I was lucky because soon another guy came in, another guy awaiting his court appearance came in. He was there for armed robbery with a gun. And he was only a year younger than me. His name was Lewis. And we started talking and we actually got along. He came from a much harder background than I did. His family, he was born into selling drugs. His family sold drugs. And that night when he committed that crime, he was on cocaine and alcohol. I was then called to the judge, where I stood in a box surrounded by glass. And my stepfather, my mother, and my sister, Jessica, were there. There were tears in my stepfather's eyes and tears in my mother's eyes. And that was the first time I saw my stepfather in years. But I had renewed hope. The fear had dissipated because of Lewis, the guy I was in the holding cell with in the court. He told me that prison is nothing like the solitary confinement I had just experienced. He told me that there's commissary, there's tobacco, you can buy newspapers, there's a TV in the cells. You could talk to people, you can make friends, you can go outside at certain points of the day and walk around. So I felt, as long as it's nothing like solitary confinement, then I'm going to be okay. As long as it's nothing like that nightmare where I'm sat in my own head, withdrawing from alcohol that I've been drinking for the past many years. withdrawing from the SSRI, which exists whenever you stop taking SSRIs. As long as I would never ever experience that again. I walked into the courtroom and I put my thumbs up to my family and I smiled with confidence, expecting fully that I would go to prison. The judge spoke, asked a question, the prosecutor spoke, my solicitor spoke in return. And the judge made the decision that this was a night of alcohol-fueled psychotic rage, a psychotic break. She herself made the argument, alcohol, the drug we all love, legal on every street, but one of the most harming and destructive drugs to exist. That in combination with cannabis, and that I didn't have any criminal violent history in the past, allowed her to consider me getting bail. The caveat was that I was not allowed to stay anywhere in the city that I committed this crime. So if my parents had not lived outside of this city, which they do, I would not have been granted bail that day and I would be in prison right now. For that, I'm so thankful. Beyond thankful. It's hard to comprehend. And I didn't want to get, I suppose, so serious, but just reflecting on it now, it really was extremely traumatic. And I feel almost a sense of fear talking about it. I'm further blessed to have been offered to come work in the warehouse where my father works, pack some boxes, talk with the other guys there. Really nice guys, we get along so well. I haven't drank or smoked since that Thursday. Which wasn't last Thursday, but the Thursday before, 2 weeks ago. And I've been going to work in the morning, and I've been leaving, and I've been doing therapy with a guy called Joe on Wednesdays at 4:30. He doesn't just talk about the alcoholism, but he talks about my life in my past. I'm going to go see him this Friday. He does an AA class, a candlelit AA class from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. But I live in Northern Ireland, so the sea. I live in a place called County Down. So the sea is only a small drive away, and he lives in a place called Newcastle. Which is right by the water, and it's all candlelit, and I really look forward to that. I'll be going this Friday, tomorrow, if all goes to plan. I rely on my mother and my stepfather to drive me around right now because I have a disqualified car license from when I was 21 or 22 years old, 21 years old. I'd been driving twice with no insurance. It's not that I've been drink driving or dangerously driving or anything. So I've really turned my life around, and I hope all of this comes to the judge in a very clear way, so that she understands that I'm not a threat to society. This was a mental breakdown. This was an addiction to alcohol, an addiction to weed. This was a lack of direction, a lack of future, and a lack of presence. Tomorrow or Monday, I'll be submitting something called a H1 form, which is to help is to renew my license. And because I didn't do anything dangerous, I'll be only required to pay a fee for the license renewal and take an extended practical test, which lasts only 1 hour. I don't believe I have to do a theory test or whatever. I am a confident driver, so it should be very good and very easy, essentially, or at least very fluid. And that means I can get on the road again. Okay? I was talking with Joe yesterday that even though I've got my little thing with my stepfather working, I shouldn't put myself all into one thing, and I should understand that I have value to give elsewhere. I love gardening, for example. I'm doing some gardening in the back of my parents' place right now, and it's only a small garden. But once I get the little beds filled and the flowers planted, I'm thinking, what will I do then? And he said, well, you live in and around a bunch of houses. I'm sure many people want your service. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea, Joe. So already I've been making a little free Wix website, and I'm going to call it Emerald Gardens, NI, Northern Ireland. Emerald Gardens, Northern Ireland. And I'd love to drive around and take care of people's gardens, and the soil I've been getting for the beds. Say hello to Alfie. The soil I've been getting for the beds comes from a guy's backyard. He excavated his garden and flattened it out to make a nice grass patch. And he's got a pile of really nice fertile soil and rubble, which I can use. It's free, it's all free, because he's just trying to get rid of it. But I'm thinking, wow, this is a really good opportunity. I've got access to free fertile soil, free rubble. I can sell that to the customers. I'm putting in, I could do soil deliveries, and also I could provide installation of the soil. I could provide flower planting and gardening services, and that's something I could do for myself. Because when I'm sober, I find entertainment much less entertaining. My brain wants to do something a bit more productive. On top of that, I have the OnlyFans, which I'm trying to revive. It was going so well. I was uploading twice a week for about a month. Photos. At one point, there was like 77 subscribers or something, but I think we're back down to like 7 or 8. I put the price down to £5 or $5.50. It's like £4 a month or something. And I'm getting back to doing bi-weekly uploads, and I'm getting back to uploading to YouTube. And obviously this YouTube video isn't anything teasing of the sort. But I did want to give you a life update. And besides all of that, maybe people with addiction are listening to this. Maybe people who are in the throes of addiction are listening to this. Maybe this can serve as a warning of what can happen if shit goes south. I remember I used to say, well, maybe prison is good for me because there's no alcohol. But no. Being in a holding cell is extremely traumatic. Going to prison is not a great thing. Only 50% of people who get out of prison recommit crime. It's probably very easy to get involved in certain societies in prison and then get out with better connections to dangerous people. Something I don't want to do. So I'm working my hardest right now to prove that I'm a changed person. And I want to be of value to society. Yeah. The only addiction right now I have is vape pens, nicotine basically. I can't smoke cigarettes because it goes to my head too much. And I get lightheaded. But yeah, I think I had planned to make I had planned to make this video a bit more, lighthearted and stuff. But as I was just talking about it there, do excuse me. It's not something I can laugh about so easily. But all is well, okay? All is well for me. And thank you for supporting me. You guys really mean a lot. Right now, I don't know if I think I maybe just put myself off a little bit for making an OnlyFans video, I don't know. But what I'll do is I'll just take 30 minutes and just rest a little bit. And then maybe before I go to bed, I'll do a little cheeky OnlyFans video. And that'll help me relax also for the rest of the night. Okay? I'm going to leave it there. And thank you so much for watching. Do follow me on X at Valhalla Body. And celebrate my blue check mark with me. And yeah. Big hugs to everyone, okay? I love you all. If you are going through a tough time, reach out to me in the comment section or in my DMs on X. And I'd love to go back and forth, and if I can help in any way, I will. But I will leave it there, okay? So, Mr. Alfie says good night. This is Alfie. Good night. Say good night. Say good night, Alfie. Say good night. Say good night. Say good night. Okay? Big kisses. I love you all.